Hey, what is up, everybody? It's the AI Wizards show. When I have Mustapha today here with me. We're ready to chat about a lot of cool stuff. So why don't you say hi, introduce yourself, man?
Hi everyone, my name is Mustapha Haqq, and I'm from Ghana in West Africa. Yeah, I'm really excited to be on the show.
Okay, so you are the CTO of the Okuafo Foundation, and
Foundation, yeah.
you guys have been doing some really exciting things with diagnosing the like using AI to diagnose diseases in livestock. So could you maybe tell me what's that about? Like how is it working, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Okuafo Foundation is an organization in Ghana here that is focused on like leveraging modern technologies to help farmers in Africa here actually produce more. And we are doing this by like cutting down the number of animals and livestock that get infested with diseases and they die, and the farmer loses his money, and then like it goes on and then affects like all a whole lot of economical issues in the community. So what we are doing is we are leveraging AI to currently help farmers quickly diagnose diseases in animals. Yeah.
And but I mean, how do you begin to like use AI to diagnose the diseases? Like, is it like a computer vision application of AI? What kind of AI? Like, what kind of AI do you use to solve what? Like, how do you use AI to do that?
Okay, so what we have currently is a computer vision based program that we've modeled to successfully diagnose crops, sorry, animals. So what how this works is that we built the image classification model in Python, and then like yeah, modeled it and programmed it, an Android app for it. So what users would do is like they quickly pick up their phone and then start like sort of scan the animal. So if it's a spot or something that is on the animal and on the animal skin, the farmer can use the app on the Android phone to diagnose it and then actually like get the results in real time. And it doesn't need internet connection to work here because the internet here is like very bad, especially in the rural communities where most people are farmers. Yeah.
And so, but I mean, the farmer has to spot something weird on the skin of an animal, right?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, I wonder what that little like seizure or something on the animal is, and he can like use his phone to scan basically the skin of an animal, right?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
I mean, I may be wrong, but I'm guessing there aren't that many data sets available with various animal diseases. So, how did you guys collect the data to train such a model?
Okay, so we looked online, and then we got some like data sets online that are freely available for
Oh,
use. Yeah, and then we
okay.
also we also tried gathering our own data here because like different conditions can affect maybe different breeds of animal have their one thing about AI is like currently most things being done aren't diverse. You get it? So it's like even the data sets that are available online of if it's people, okay, if it's people, it's mostly excuse me to say, but white people. You understand?
No, not sure.
Okay, so
What?
if data is available, there isn't enough data from Africa. That is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, there's no enough data on Africa, so we couldn't
Okay.
get a lot of like free data online. So we got a few data, used it to train, and then gathered our own local data here also to
Oh,
improve the model's accuracy. Yeah.
okay. So, mm, but I mean, like, what, like, does the model just say whether the animal is sick or not, or does it also like classify what kind of sickness that could be?
Yeah, yeah. It classifies the sickness into like what kind of sickness it is, and then the farmer also gets recommendations. Like we've done a lot of research and then
Mm-hmm.
work closely with like veterinaries locally here
Mm-hmm.
to produce solutions and recommendations for the farmers in the app directly. So
Mm-hmm.
um, once the disease is spotted in the app diagnoses the disease, the farmer also gets recommendations on like how to better treat the diseases.
But let me ask you something. But like, there are probably a lot of diseases that can happen to animals, and like, what percentage of those diseases actually have, like, what are the diseases that actually have some that can actually show up in the skin, right? Because when you're a human, you get a flu, you're coughing, but your skin looks the same, right? And so, I mean, what are like the diseases in animals that actually show up on the skin that you guys are like targeting to diagnose?
Okay, so parasites, ectoparasites, okay, parasites that affect the animals on the skin. That is what we are currently looking at right now. So if the animal has something that isn't showing on its skin right now, the app has like that is the limitation of the app.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So ectoparasite is what we are focusing on right now.
Okay, uh, and is it hard for a human like let's imagine like I'm an old school farmer, right? Why would like I use your app? I mean, I can use my eyes, so like what's so like complicated to distinguish there?
Okay. The first of all, we what we are trying to like solve is two problems here. One is in Africa here, especially Ghana here, most of the farmers are based in the rural areas which have poor roads and agric extension offices. I don't know if you, yeah, officers that are supposed to be moving around and then like inspecting farms,
Mm-hmm.
helping farms, and yeah, so they find it difficult to reach such communities, such deprived communities
Mm-hmm.
here in Ghana. So what we are doing is with our app, we are able to bridge that gap between the agric extension officer who has enough knowledge on animal diseases and all that, since that officer cannot get to the farmer because of like several conditions and all that. We've trained,
So you mean like there are those like inspectors who are helping farmers with diseases, but they can't get to like all the uh, very rural regions of
yeah,
Ghana? Okay.
yes, exactly. So that is one part we are solving, and the other is farmers in the rural areas hardly can read or write. You
Oh.
understand? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a medicine that they're supposed to use to cure the animal or something, that becomes a problem for them, and then they end up mixing the medicines like this prescription. They wouldn't know which one is meant for this sickness, which one is meant for this
Okay.
animal, and then other. They end up. So one part that we are also solving is rural farmers in Ghana here actually mostly cannot read or write, and then they
Mm-hmm.
end up mixing prescriptions and then giving the wrong medicine to an animal, and then end up like poisoning that animal, which makes it
Mm-hmm.
unsafe for human consumption. You get it? So what we are doing is, since the farmers themselves do not have enough knowledge on pest management, disease management, and all that, we've trained an AI like agents, if I should put it, an AI agent
Mm-hmm.
to do the work of the agric extension officer. You understand? So
Yes.
it's yeah, it's not like a farmer with a vast knowledge in um, animal disease diagnosis and all that. Those are not our targets. Our target is like the rural people. people
Mm-hmm.
who actually like produce meat for consumption here
Mm-hmm.
in our local communities.
But do those rural people, I mean, if it's hard for them to like read or write, what makes you confident that they will be able to handle using like an Android app, that they like own a phone at all? Like, do they own Android smartphones? And uh, what effort are you putting in your application to make it like really easy to use? Like my two
Okay,
questions here.
yeah. So first of all, with the app, the interface is designed with instead of text based, making the interface more text based. We've made
Mm-hmm.
it like visuals. Okay, use visuals, use icons.
Like little pictures or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We use icons to depict like the buttons and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
use also animations. We have animation stories that
Mm-hmm.
the animations are also in their local dialect. That is one thing that makes it very easy
Mm-hmm.
for them to like kind of interact with the app very well.
Mm-hmm.
We have
So,
animations
so,
in the
so, so the animations they have like a voiceover. So
yeah,
somebody from that community who speaks the language voices the the story, and the animations they are like the instructions, right, on
exactly,
how to use the app.
exactly,
And
exactly.
okay, anything else on the interface that you're doing?
Yeah, and then if farmers also want to report a problem, we have a feature in the app that allows farmers to maybe like get in touch with us. So traditional apps here, you sort of type your
Mm-hmm.
questions to the. So in this app, we've built a feature that allows farmers to kind of like just press a button and then record whatever their problem is or
Yeah,
issue. Yeah. So with the
that's
release
awesome.
yeah, with the release of the button, we get their request, and then since we also speak like the same language with them, we are able to interpret it and then find solutions and get back to them in real time.
Yeah, and do many of those farmers uh, like do they use smartphones? Do you think if they don't, they would switch to using a smartphone, or like how do you think like putting that technology of a smartphone in their hands at first like would even work before they can install the app?
Okay, so that is during our due diligence analysis, we found out that most farmers are not having smartphones currently, but we believe like the
Sorry,
rate has
sorry. Do they carry smartphones or do they not?
they do not,
Okay.
but quite a few of them have smartphones and they are like likely to start using our service like yeah, but considering something the rate at which like people are acquiring smartphones here is like very high. Everyone wants to switch to Android because it has like better features and all that, provides them with a lot of services and all. So people are like day in and day out, people are acquiring smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Yeah. So we
Yes.
feel like there is a need for us to build this tool down, and people who already have smartphones will start using it, and those who don't have would like eventually very soon, even by the end of 2019, we are sure more than like 200 farmers are going to get smartphones, and then they can start using the app. So what we are doing currently to solve to kind of like minimize the effects is of people not having smartphones currently is that we also have a feature. We have a feature where people can just use their normal phones. How is it called? Those is it Symbian or those little phones? So they just that are used for like making calls. So you just call us and then they sort of like describe the situation, what is happening to the animal. So when they describe it, we have like um, a client who is sitting by the computer and then would input all the information they give into the model. So we run it here locally on our machines and then give.
Sorry. I'm not sure. So you mean like the user can like call you guys and describe what's happening,
Yeah, yeah.
or uh, and you were mentioning that like the internet service in the rural areas is like not good, but is the mobile service like
Yeah,
do
yeah.
they
There
do,
is.
okay, it's better,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
So
so they can like call you and describe what's happening to the animal and just continue from there. Okay, I have clarified that for myself.
okay. So what they can do is they can also call us and then describe the what is happening to the animal or on the farm. So when we get
Mm-hmm.
that information, we also like ask them certain information, just as some of the information that the model we use to make its prediction. We ask them those questions and then get that feedback. So we train it in our model here on our machines in the cities where we have like internet and computing power and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So when we diagnose, when we process that information in our model and then get a likely prediction by the model here on our machines, we
But
can then reach back.
do you mean like do you mean like they send like a picture of an animal like or like a picture of its skin, like to train a model like you gotta have some input data and I'm like and I'm understanding that you like call the farmers, but what what do you use to then what do you use that data to like train it on like then like sorry like do it, like take pic like do you use pictures that the farmers like take or and then listen to them on the phone and kind of try to diagnose what's going on
Yeah,
like how
exactly.
does that okay so they take a picture and then they can like call you, right,
Yeah, yeah.
and
That
describe what's
also
happening.
works. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Gosh, huh? And I guess like for now, yeah, I see that like you guys have actually given like a good thought to how that would work. But now let's get to like the insights and like the most important thing here is of course like the accuracy of the model, like how practical it is to actually use for people, and I think that the app is not launched yet, right? It's still in the development phase, right?
Yeah, we've launched the beta version and then currently
Mm-hmm.
having a few farmers to try it out and then we gather more data and feedback to improve the model and all that.
And so let's start with that. Like on which on like which kinds of animals does the app work? Like can you use like on like cows or like pigs or chickens? Like for which animal? So yeah, for which animals does the app work?
Okay, so all that we are doing is like focused on farmers, the local people who are here and then producing and surviving on agriculture. So here currently people are into poultry, producing poultry a lot, and then they are also looking at livestock. So rabbits production for meat and sheep and cattle. Yeah. So those are the animals we're
And,
targeting right
uh,
now.
so like it's mainly rabbits, sheep, and cows. Yeah.
Yeah, and poultry.
And pottery, you mean like making stuff out of clay, yeah?
Yeah.
Or
Okay. So as though that is people like the rural areas here, people are living in houses that are built with clay and
yeah,
all that.
okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like that's how the rural people like the really rural people live in Ghana. Yeah, so like it's farming
Yeah.
and building stuff out of clay, which is basically pottery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, interesting fact: my last name in Russian basically translates as potter. So I the rural people may like me for that if I visit Ghana. Anyway, so like if a sheep is sick, right? And if it has like something on its skin, you can kind of like shave off, some of that fur, or and you can use the app and see if it's parasites.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's not parasites, right? Like what else could that be? I mean, if it's just like if the animal just got wounded, with it fell off of a like cliff or something, and it just has like a wound. Will the app like be able to like tell the difference and that like, hey, like that's just a normal wound, except and like not a disease?
No. We assume like farmers will be able to tell the difference between wounds, normal wounds,
Okay.
and then like parasite diseases. But that is a good
Okay.
idea. I think we'll have to like include build a feature like that in the app. That is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So the app comes in the place where the farmer like already knows that something is wrong and the animal didn't just fall off. So like the farmer kind of understands that like, hey, like it's a disease. So and the app is used to diagnose like what kind of seizure, like what kind of like parasite wound is that. So it's
Exactly.
like, so it's classifying the type of a disease, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cause I was kind of like thinking, like, what if the animal has like some weird wound? Like, what will the app say?
Yeah.
Like this is a wound of an animal that fell off a cliff 2 minutes ago from like 2.5 meters. Yeah, and and on your website you mentioned that it's like 97% accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. We managed to achieve over 97% accuracy.
97%. And so, like, what are like the different diseases? Like, suppose like there's like a wound, right? And how many classes can the model classify? Like, how many diseases can it kind of attribute the wound to?
Right now, we've limited ourselves to only like four major diseases
Uh
that are
huh.
affecting um, farmers here in Ghana here. Yeah.
And are there like big differences in the way you treat those diseases,
Yeah.
like in medications? Okay.
Yeah.
And are those like visually different? Um, do maybe like have some pictures on like your desktop somewhere? If you like happen to have those, you could demonstrate your screen in Skype. If you do,
Um.
or like if you don't, I can just add them in editing.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
but like my question here is, like, are the diseases are like visually different? Like, is there
Yeah.
like a clear visual difference?
Yeah. Yeah. There is like a clear visual difference, and but some also are very similar. So the app does like being able to differentiate between what situation is what disease, and what situation is another.
So, and here's kind of like a little like question for you. Um, your intuition. What if the app, instead of using AI, what if the app just shown like, say, it's got like four diseases now. So what if like for four diseases it would show like four example pictures? Would the person be better off just looking at the pictures and being like, okay, that's how that disease looks like, and that's how that disease looks like, or you know, do the people actually benefit from the kind of like the artificial intelligence in the application? Like, can AI do what a person can do without substantial practice right now
Okay.
from like your.
So in diagnosing these diseases, it's like it can really get like sort of complicated for the farmers here. But since the model has seen like hundreds of data, hundreds of examples, it has learned to be better, because you can't just show a person one image and then tell that person maybe, okay, this is this disease, and wherever you see something like this, it is just this disease. Situations change based on maybe where the spot is located, and what type of animal is it, and how like big the the area of the tumor and all that. Yeah. So
Yeah,
like
and like how big are those tumors? Like can be, um, are they like this much? I mean, like in general, like if an animal is sick, like when the farmer begins to notice, usually, uh, like when it's like that big or when it's like that big or, uh,
like really small, really small.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
and and so I'm guessing that those rural farmers they don't have like hundreds of livestock. They have like, I mean, if they're able to spot those diseases, how much those rural farmers that should target, how many animals do they have?
Averagely in the rural areas in Ghana, a farmer can have like maybe 50 to 80 to 100 animals.
Hmm.
That is maybe like cattle, but poultry they have like maybe thousands. They can get like maybe 1,000 and over
No, so those are
animals.
like really big farms.
Yeah. So the whole idea is if one animal is diagnosed and then it is negative, it has a parasite and it has been infested. The whole concept is like there is an invasion on the farm.
Hmm.
You understand? So it's better you start spotting all disease all animals and then if it's you're going to quarantine those animals, you do that. Or if there is maybe you have to clean the whole cage or something like a practice. If there is a practice
Hmm.
or something you have to do, like yeah, okay, this is what is happening and this is what I can do to solve it.
Mm. Okay. And how far, um, like would you say the app is from being released to production for people to actually like use?
Yeah, I think like very soon
Very s-
in
okay.
yeah in about 2 months we should release the app for full. We should have a full release of the app for people to start
Mm-hmm.
using farmers. Yeah.
And can people say in different parts of Africa or in different parts, like of the world, like maybe say somewhere in Russia, can they also like benefit from using the app? Of course, like the interface and all that stuff, like would maybe be different, like the languages, but would the same technology be applicable in like other parts of Africa?
Yeah, in Africa here, like this sub-region, we have most of our things in common. So I believe this app would work like very well for people in Africa here. But maybe
Mm-hmm.
once it's taken outside of Africa, maybe we might have a slight
Mm-hmm.
reduction in like accuracy and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
once we get enough data and then like retrain the model and build a special version for maybe the outside world, depending on the region the app is going,
Mm-hmm.
I think it would still work very well for other people as well.
So let's talk a little bit about like, is it a commercial app or is it like a non-profit? Like, what kind of like an organization like are you developing the app in?
Okay, so right now we just doing it for like non-profits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are focusing on like the impact and
Mm-hmm.
do just that. Yeah, we have other things that we are planning on commercializing,
Mm-hmm.
but the app as we are just giving it out as a tool for
Mm-hmm.
farmers to cut down on the disease, the rate at which disease affects their crops, and also produce healthy meat for public consumption. Yeah,
And about crops, you also have like some potential plans to diagnose the diseases in
yeah,
crops. I know that
yeah.
like that's not yet in the product line, but if you could like give like a little bit, say like some words about what the app will be able to do with crops, with like plants, just you can do that.
Okay, so the app is just like this one also it diagnoses diseases in crops and then gives farmers the recommended solutions by as given by experts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's chat. Let's chat a little bit about you and how you started with coding. You were mentioned to me before that you were actually like learning to code without like yet even having like a computer. So maybe we could chat a
Please
little bit
end
about
it. Oh,
how you like got started.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I grew up in a small community in Ghana here called Moshizogo.
And small, like how many people?
Not a lot of people, like 800 to 1,000. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but there are little settlement here. So that is where I grew up, and we back in the days, internet, like the connection was even very hard, and areas where you could get internet, they were also like very expensive. Yeah. So I grew up in such a small community where like social vices were rampant. Internet fraud was
Sorry, where what was?
social vices, like people crime, the
Oh,
crime
okay.
rates was, yeah, very high and other. So growing up in such a community where internet fraud was like very rampant, and I knew I could also use the internet to possess some kind of like universal skill that would enable me to be able to solve problems. Like I wanted to possess a learning skill. Um, First, when I started going to the internet for to start learning, laying my hands on the computer and searching for free resources on coding and other, like some people were against it because they knew like I was where I grew up. If you go to the internet at that age, people would just start thinking he's a fraud guy. You understand? So things like got a little complicated, and my parents were also like very supportive. So they would give me
And where would you like get that internet access? Did you have like a computer at home with the internet or library or?
no. We didn't have a library, and when I started, nobody in my family even had a computer. Yeah, so I had to like walk miles away from home to get to an internet cafe to pay to use the internet. So that was how I started paying to use the internet, and then learning skills like how to code little by little, and gradually like everything is working fine now.
It's it's really interesting. And yeah, what would you say? Are there is there like growing interest in Ghana when it comes to like coding and AI? Like, are more and more people jumping on board and learning how to do cool stuff with it?
Okay, so right now I currently work for an organization called an NGO called Ghana Code Club, where we like teach digital literacy skills to kids. That is a mission. We have a mission to train these young ones that are coming up to like get the skills needed to thrive in this like digital revolution. Yeah. So not a lot of people even have heard about coding before, because there are communities in Ghana here that haven't seen a computer before. You get it? But like those here that we have access to, we train them on like how to start coding from the beginning, and giving them the introduction to computer programming and all that. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you also volunteer to like teach kids to code, and like in what communities do you like go? Like how big are those communities where you go and teach kids to how to program?
Okay, so
like just to understand like what are those communities where you're volunteering to teach? Like what are they like where you're
so
teaching kids to code?
we've been to a lot of communities in Ghana. We've been to so many places. Some are just like what we spoke about earlier. You go to places with people living in mud houses and all that. Some are deprived as that, and then in the cities and like towns also. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you think we should wrap up here, or do we have something that we like to also discuss?
I think we've spoken a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So, why don't we wrap up here? Yeah, some final words.
Okay. So what I would like to say is really about like first of all diversity in AI research and algorithmic like bias. That is one thing that I would like to urge all researchers to kind of put a little more effort into and then look at. And also we should start regarding the ethics in AI, ethical AI and other, because it has mass applications. And when AI is going to inherit our sins, our imbalances, our imperfection, so we as humans should try as much as possible to be ethical as possible in developing these tools, and then be careful where we apply them. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that currently where most of the AI is basically used to on like social networks and like e-commerce to basically try to exploit that little monkey brains that we have. Yeah, so ethics is a big thing. So thank you so much, dude. I'm gonna shake your hand virtually. Yeah, this is how we do handshakes, like from Siberia to Ghana.
Oh.
Okay, so Mustapha, that was the A Wizard Show. Bye everybody, and hope like you're having a great day.